Prince Harry's witness statement that he submitted to the High Court against MGN. It gets crazy, it gets weird, it gets outright insane, and I'm going to go through all the best bits with you right now. Hey up everyone, it's me, Steph the Alternerd, your nerdy alternative, filling in for Andy whilst he's on holiday at the moment. And yes, we are going to go through the craziest, insane, weirdest bits from Prince Harry's witness statement right now. Yes, so first up, that he writes against MGN, the Mirror Group newspaper that he's currently fighting against in the High Court. Thicko, cheat, underage drinker. I didn't know that Prince Harry had such thin skin, did you? So, he writes, in my experience as a member of the royal family, each of us gets cast into a specific role by the tabloid press. You start off as a blank canvas whilst they work out what kind of person you are and what kind of problems and temptations you might have. Then they start to edge you towards playing the role or roles that suit them best and which sells as many newspapers as possible, especially if you are the spare to the heir. You're then either the playboy prince, the failure, the dropout, or in my case, the thicko, the cheat, the underage drinker, the irresponsible, illicit substance taker. The list goes on. Aww, wah. Are you getting those vibes as well? The wah vibes, right? Oh my goodness. And whilst we're going through these best bits, right, try and point out if he actually provides any actual evidence whatsoever as to MGN, you know, phone hacking him, unlawfully gathering information on him. It's a challenge, and you'll see why in a moment. So he says, as a teenager and in my early 20s, I ended up feeling as though I was playing up to a lot of the headlines and stereotypes, mainly because I thought that if they're printing this rubbish about me and people were believing it, I may as well, quote, do the crime. So he's basically blaming him being an absolute idiot whilst he was a teenager on the press. Yeah, he doesn't take any responsibility whatsoever, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever here. He then says it was a downward spiral whereby the tabloids would constantly try and coax me into doing something stupid that would make a good story and sell lots of newspapers. But he just admitted that he was played into it in the end, so it was a vicious cycle that he created. What the deuce? He says, then looking back, such behaviour on their part is utterly vile. Oh, the vile press they were. We then go on to strained relationships. Yes, so this is all about Chelsea Davy, his ex-partner. So he says that journalists would get information about his ex-girlfriend Chelsea Davy's flights to the UK to see him. They were on and off, sometimes long distance. It lasted for 6 years, from 2004 to about 2010-2011. Now, he says in his witness statement, quote, I walked into the airport arrivals hall with a baseball cap on and immediately spotted 5 separate paparazzi sitting on benches with cameras in bags, their hands inside rucksacks, and everyone else looking at me. I remember that someone was videoing me with one of those tiny little cameras between their legs. I recall thinking, how on earth did they know I was going to be there? But now it's obvious. They could have got tipped off. You know, that they could have had insider information from the airport. You know, someone from airport security, you know, tipped them off and got a little bit of dollar bills in return. Do you know what I mean? Does not necessarily mean that this was unlawful information gathering, phone hacking. But anyway, he then says, here were 5 big, burly and dodgy looking men with their hands in their pockets or in rucksacks and satchels in a busy public place. My security and I simply couldn't know whether they were reaching for a camera or drawing some kind of, let's call that, nasty item that could be used to hurt. Yeah, okay. You see, that's why you have security with you, so you don't have to worry about that because you're protected, right? Oh my goodness. So he adds, I always felt the tabloids wanted me to be single as I was much more interesting to them and sold more newspapers. How could he get to that kind of conclusion? If anything, you could argue that the tabloids wanted him and Chelsea to continue as a relationship because it gave them more stories to write about them both. He says, whenever I got into a relationship, they were very keen to report the details, but would then very quickly seek to try and break it up by putting as much strain on it and creating as much distrust as humanly possible. Where's the evidence to support that? He says, the twisted objective is still pursued to this day, even though now I'm married. Here we go with threat from the public, and this is where the title of this video actually comes from. This is not clickbait, guys. He says tabloids would routinely publish articles about me that were often wrong, but interspersed with snippets of truth. This created an alternative and distorted version of me, to the general public, the people I had to serve and interact with as a member of the royal family, to the point where any one of those thousands of people that I met or was introduced to on any given day could easily have gone, you know what, you're an idiot, I've read all the stories about you, and now I'm going to stabby you. And I live in the UK, if you haven't noticed, and let's put it this way, no. There's been no reported instances of that, no sniff of that, no rumours of any member of the general public wanting to turn against Prince Harry in such a physical, violent way. To me, he's talking out of his backside here. He then goes on to huge paranoia. So Prince Harry says royal aides gave him his first phone when he went to Eton College, which is a boarding school in Windsor. He says, quote, as I was very heavily involved with various commitments, I would constantly be leaving and receiving voicemails, as text messaging was much less common back then. It was my main means of communicating with my family and my girlfriend at the time, my friends, members of the royal household, and those I was working with. My voicemails would include incredibly private and sensitive information about my relationships, my operational security, and that of my family, my work both in the army and as a senior member of the royal family. He says at this point, knowing that MGN journalists were listening in to private and sensitive voicemails suggests they could have heard anything and everything. This caused huge stress, presented security concerns, and created a huge amount of paranoia and suspicion in his relationships, saying, quote, I felt I couldn't trust anybody, which was an awful feeling for me, especially at such a young age. But this is the thing, right? He's saying, yeah, they were listening into my voicemails, this, that, and the other. Okay, it's one thing to say it, but then it's another thing to prove it. It's a case of Prince Harry, show me the receipts. Because at the moment, to my knowledge, my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, he hasn't. Even on the stand, he got absolutely obliterated. It was a bloodbath, guys. Moving on to the next insane, craziest thing that he wrote in his witness statement, all about James Hewitt. Now, James Hewitt, for those that don't know, was a bodyguard for Princess Diana. And Princess Diana and James Hewitt actually had an affair. And it's been rumoured, very heavily rumoured over decades, that Prince Harry isn't the son of King Charles, but is actually the son of this dude here, James Hewitt. And so he says at the time he wasn't aware of the timeline. Aged 18 and having lost his mother 6 years old earlier, he says such stories felt were hurtful, mean, and cruel. I can get that. That's fair enough. He says, I was always left questioning the motives. Here we go. This is the craziest, insane bit out of this section. Were the newspapers keen to put doubt into the minds of the public so I might be ousted from the royal family? No! No! Not at all! Where's he getting that BS from? I really don't get it. That's crazy and insane, right? No, it was just, who's your daddy? That was it. Then we get on to Paul Burrell, who was the butler for the late Princess Diana. And so he says, we firmly believed that she would have expected some privacy in death, especially from someone she had trusted, i.e. Paul Burrell, right, the butler. Now, Prince William had wanted to set up a meeting with him, and Prince Harry was firmly against it, having made up his mind about Paul Burrell. The article said he believed him to be a two-faced shiz, we'll say, a phrase he believes could have been lifted from a voicemail message. Yeah, Could have been. Or he could have said that to a friend, and then that friend could have tipped off the press with that quote. Right? There's other plausible explanations other than they hacked my voicemail and they got unlawful information gathering for this story. Do you know what I mean? Now, this was absolutely outrageous because it is extremely rare, if non-existent, that a member of the royal family actually comments on politics or the government. So for Prince Harry to do this in such a way, for the UK, for our culture, is very, very shocking, insane and crazy. So here we go, breaking with the convention that royals never interfere with politics. Prince Harry actually attacks Rishi Sunak's government in his statement. Rishi Sunak is our Prime Minister, right? He says, our country is judged globally by the state of our press and our government, both of which I believe are at rock bottom. Democracy fails when your press fails to scrutinise and hold the government accountable and instead choose to get into bed with them so they can ensure the status quo. All of that, for us in the UK culturally, is absolutely shocking to have come out of a member of the royal family's gob. I'm telling you that right now. This is insane for Prince Harry to be saying as far as, you know, our culture's concerned. We then get on to the final, craziest, insane moment in the statement. He says he's determined to see this action through to the end because he's convinced unlawful information gathering was known by those at the top. He says, quote, the fact that it was not just the journalists who were carrying out the unlawful activity, but also those in power who were turning a blind eye to it so as to ensure that it would continue unabated and who then tried to cover it up when the game was up is appalling. Yeah, you can say they tried to cover it up, but again, where's the evidence? Where's the smoking gun to be able to prove it? He says the fact that they're all ganging up to protect each other is the most disturbing part of all, especially as they're the mothership of online trolling. Mothership of online trolling. What? Trolls react and mobilise to stories they create. People have passed away as a result, and people will continue to unalive themselves when they can't see any other way out. How much more blood will stain their typing fingers before someone can put a stop to this madness? I'm sorry, the mothership of online trolling, I can't get over that bit. Like, that's just like, how does he put those kind of words together? Like, what the deuce, guys? But yeah, that is it. The craziest, insane, weirdest moments from Prince Harry's very, very lengthy witness statement that he submitted to the High Court against MGN. But guys, enough with my gobs. It's now time for your gobs. If you like this video and you want more, and believe me, there's gonna be more. Do make sure you subscribe to Popcorn Planet, turn that notification bell to all, like this video and comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theories and whatevers. And if you want to go one step further, then join today. Become a Popcorn Planeteer for as little as $5.99 a month, and you get exclusive stories and content from Andy Signore himself. Also as well, if you like me personally, I have my own channel, Steph the Nerd. So go on there because I report everything to do with Harry, Meghan and the royal family. So if you like that kind of content, head on over to my channel as well. You won't be disappointed if I do say so myself. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today for this video. Appreciate your faces, and here you might see some videos that might interest you. So clickety click, clickety click.